Okay, so what are we going to do tonight on these busy weeks where you've taken time out that we so appreciate? What are we going to do tonight? Really give a clear understanding of the overview of the process, the timeline, what you can expect in these upcoming months. Then we're going to lay out how we run our process. So some of you have been through the college process with other children at other schools. Some of you have been through the college process with other children at this school. Many of you have never been through the college process before. That would include all of you students and some of you parents. So what we're going to do is talk about specifically how we do things here, and then get to some frequently asked questions, and then hopefully get to some of your questions as well. So as we do those things, this is the agenda we're going to move through. We put a gray box at each different section as we move through it, so you'll be able to see kind of where we are in the presentation, keep track that way. Okay, so I wanted to take a moment to introduce our team. 3 of our team members are here, 1 de facto team member is here, and some of our other team members are not here. So as I said before, Lauren Lieberman, this is my 3rd year here at Shadyside as the Director of College Counseling. I am a very proud Shadyside alum, and I just had a big milestone reunion, which was really fun because I got to see a ton of my old classmates, and it was very obvious to me and a great reminder for the work that I do that 20 years out, nobody knows anything about where you went to college or how that went. It was amazing to see so many people who were really goofballs in high school as cardiologists and very successful in all the different things that they are doing. And then you could imagine the look on my friends' faces when they were like, oh, so what do you do? I said, oh, well, actually, I'm the college counselor at Shadyside. Do you remember Mr. Housen? Is there anyone in here who is an alum who knows Mr. Housen or knows Mr. Housen another way? So Mr. Housen was a longtime college counselor at Shadyside Academy. Mr. Housen was maybe in his early 60s at the time that we were here. Mr. Housen was a baseball coach for probably 30+ years. Mr. Housen had gray hair, silvery hair, balding, big belly. That was Mr. Housen. So that's kind of an image, super nice. But when I would tell my friends, remember Mr. Housen? That's me now. They'd say, oh, wow. What's that like? It is the best thing in the world. It is so much fun every day to come here, to work with this team, and to work with you students and you as families. So it was a pretty great experience to see where my friends had started, where they had gone to, and also to be able to share what Shadyside is like now. So tonight, I'm joined by Lucas Frankel, and you'll have a chance to hear from him, one of the college counselors. We're also joined by Pam Pratt-Gaelic, who is here, though only temporarily, in the college office. She is here filling in for Julie Hurt, who you can see on the slide. Recently had a baby and is on maternity leave. Julie will be back the first week of November. So while Pam is wonderful and lovely, and you'll get a flavor for that tonight, you're not going to be working much with Pam in your college process. So Kelsey Williams is the behind the scenes, runs our office. So for those of you students who don't know Miss Williams yet, and parents, you'll have a chance to get to know her. And our de facto team member, who I mentioned before, is Sophie Lau, who partners with us in everything that we do. And that's kind of an overview of our team. We work really, really closely together. We have a ton of fun together. If you haven't been to the college office before on a school day, it's an environment like no other. It's lively, it's fun, and it's really just very exciting to work together with this team. In addition to being really fun people and people who are eager to engage on a number of different topics, we also have a good amount of expertise in this college application process. Julie and I both started our professional lives in selective college admissions. All of us have read and reviewed thousands of essays, many applications. We've been doing this for a long time, and part of what we do, and the next slide will show this, is we get out there. So there are many days during the school year where we're not on campus, we're visiting schools, we're making connections, we're talking to our admissions reps at different places, and we have a long history with some of these people. So in addition to that, we also are involved professionally. Every single one of us runs workshops for other college counselors. We're engaged in our professional organizations and really leaders in this field. So particularly if all of you, as you go through this, we really look at this as students, you're the expert in yourself. Parents, you are the experts in your kid, and we're the experts in this process. And together, that's how we really go through this. One of the most fun parts of the job is getting to visit campuses. This is roughly what we saw in the past year, the three of us. So minimum 10 schools a year, but some people way more than that. And this is a sample of what we saw in the past year. When we go to these schools, we're both meeting with our admissions representatives, and we're also getting a feel of the school so that we can tell you firsthand what we've experienced at those places, because there's no way that you're going to be able to get to all these places or all the places out there. But we'll talk a little bit about college visits as this goes on. So I think it's really important to us that we kind of think about this college process not as an add-on service, but actually part of your Shadyside education. We spoke today with sophomores about taking ownership of your learning, which we did for you guys too when you were sophomores. We're involved at every year as part of the education process. Were we talking to sophomores about building a college list? No, that wouldn't make any sense. But what we do here is very much rooted in the philosophy of our school and our guiding principles, and we very much see ourselves as educators and this process as part of your overall Shadyside education. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Lucas and Mr. Frankel, and he's going to go through the timeline. Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. My name is Lucas Frankel. This is my second year here at Shadyside Academy. So I am also, on top of being a college counselor, I'm also a dorm parent over in Croft. And this year I'm excited to add on squash coach as well to my list of titles. So we're just going to be doing a general overview of what the junior year is going to look like from the college standpoint. This is going to include standardized testing, what the students are going to be doing in conjunction with the college counseling office, and when and how to do college visits. So as you can see from this timeline, standardized testing is something that really permeates throughout the entire year. Note that all juniors are going to be taking the PSAT next Wednesday. Students, please don't freak out about this. These are not scores that are going to get sent to schools, and so it's just important practice that you go in and you sit in an uncomfortable chair for 3 hours and you focus on an exam. Note that also the top 1% of scores from each state are going to be sent on for the National Merit Scholarship, so there is an added benefit if you do well. Another highlight from this timeline is, if you'll see in December, college counseling assignments are going to happen right before winter break. We're going to assign students randomly to counselors, and then the counselor will reach out and let them know about next steps. The extremely lucky students will get the counselor who has full-sized candy bars in his office. I don't know who that is. But if you have any questions before December, please feel free to come in and speak to any one of us. We're happy to help. So let's go throughout the year by each season and see what lies ahead. So like I said, the PSAT is going to be next Wednesday, and then after that, I would encourage students to formulate a testing plan for the rest of their junior year. The best way to get the ball rolling here is pick up an SAT prep book, sign up for an ACT prep class. Just the important part is to get started and start studying. We do recommend that students take both the SAT and the ACT so they can decide which test they prefer. We also recommend that you study each for a few hours and then take the real test. There's no use wasting a great score on a practice diagnostics exam in your living room. So please go out, sign up for the real test. And if the school isn't what you've hoped for, that's okay. You don't need to send every score to every school. We also ask that students take one of each of the SAT and the ACT before March, so that when the spring and summer rolls around, they have an idea of which tests they prefer, and that they can sign up for the tests that are important to them for summer and the next fall. So the winter is really where the college process is going to start picking up steam. As I mentioned, they're going to get their counselor assignments, and we're going to start doing one-on-one meetings with students in January. We'll get to know them a little bit better and what they're looking for in their college experience. At that time, we're also going to start crafting our preliminary college lists. They're also called long lists. This is basically so the students can get an idea and a sense of what they're looking for. And we're also going to introduce them to Naviance, which is the software system that they're going to be using throughout their college process. And finally, in winter, students should consider what they want to do with their summer between junior and senior year. The best advice that we can give you guys is do something. And by something, I don't mean binge watching Game of Thrones. That's not something that you can do. But whether it's working at a movie theater or interning at a local office or going to build houses in Guatemala, it doesn't matter as long as you're doing something. So moving into the spring now. So we will have met with students at least once, and then at that point we can bring in families and sort of loop the parents in and what's going on, what the students are looking for and thinking about. Spring break is a great time to plan some college visits. We recommend that you stay close to home to start. Go to Pitt, go to Duquesne, CMU, Chatham. Just make it simple. You don't need to have your first trip be out to California or Florida. And at the start of April, we're also going to have a college fair. So last year we had over 100 colleges represented at the college fair. This is a great opportunity to learn about new schools and chat with reps. Around that time, we're also going to discuss what classes the students want to take for their senior year. So one of the things that we recommend is that they continue with their rigor and that they really don't take their foot off the gas for senior year. We really recommend taking the hardest classes that you feel comfortable with. And around that time, also in the spring, we're going to talk to students about what teachers they might want to ask for recommendations. So students, please remember, these are the teachers where you are in their classes right now. That does not mean you need to start bringing them cookies, but please at least work your hardest and show your best self every day, because these are teachers that might end up writing your recommendation letter. Finally, in the spring, it's a good time to start thinking about SAT subject tests. This is not something that is mandatory for every school. In fact, only 5 schools require SAT subject tests, and only about 20 more schools recommend them. But if there is a school on your list that requires or recommends subject tests, the spring is a good time to start thinking about it. These subject tests are offered with less frequency than the regular SATs. And then the summer. So like it says, we really just want you to relax, have fun, do something that you're passionate about. When the summer starts to wind down, you're going to notice that the Common App is actually going to open up on August 1st. Do not start applying to schools on August 1st. There is no benefit for you to apply to a school over the summer. In fact, we add data and information to your Common App when we get back to school that is pertinent for most applications. So unless you speak to a college counselor before you leave for junior, senior summer, do not plan on applying to a school over the summer. And lastly, just as a note, recruited athletes, their process starts earlier than most other students. So if you believe that you are going to be a recruited athlete, please come see us, and so we can start filling out those details in the spring instead of in the summer and the fall. So please, again, if you feel that you fall into that bucket, come now to the college office just to talk to one of us to find out more information. So at this point, I'd like to introduce Pam Pratt-Gaelick, who is going to talk a little bit more about college counseling and Naviance.
Good evening. To introduce myself, I'm also a former director of college counseling, and I've worked in New York City, I've worked in Houston, and in Pittsburgh in that position. Currently a member of this wonderful team, and a French teacher here throughout the rest of this year. So I'm pleased to add my voice to this presentation. In addition to working as a college counselor for many years, I've been a parent. And I was concerned about my own daughter's experience with the college process. That was in 1999, and it's gotten a little bit more complicated since then. I anticipate being excited and at times anxious about my own granddaughter's experience when she goes through the college process 15 years from now. So my part of the presentation has to do with communication, how information and our knowledge and support is communicated to your family, and how you keep us current as to what you're thinking, how you're feeling, and what you really need to know. The very first idea that I want to communicate to you is that our process is well thought out and developmentally appropriate. In college counseling, we've all worked with families who have tried to accelerate the process and either stalled out, burnt out, or caused themselves unnecessary work and worry. We ask you to trust our expertise and know that we want you to have the most productive and least stressful college process possible. There will be stress, but we're trying to tamp it down with you. A lot of what you need to know can be communicated through larger presentations like this one and through group emails. However, some information is best imparted in smaller group settings, such as the application and essay writing workshops that students are required to attend. And there are also optional workshops that address the athletic recruitment process, arts portfolios, auditions, financial aid, and how to apply for outside scholarships. At the heart, though, the process of determining where and how to apply to college is highly individualized, and it requires additional means of communication, one-to-one and face-to-face communication. This is achieved through family and student meetings, phone conversations, emails, and confidential surveys that we will ask you to complete. In order to identify the best fit colleges, we need to know both the student and your family better. What are your future plans? How and in what environments do you learn best? What are your cultural values, etc.? To illustrate the point that one process does not fit all, members of the Shady Side class of 2018, as you see there, are attending 81 different schools in 22 states. And this can only happen when each student is able to articulate to us his or her hopes and dreams, while tapping into our knowledge of the many great schools out there that are potentially great fits for them. So how do we communicate Shady Side's strengths to colleges and universities? Well, as Lauren mentioned, we visit colleges and we speak with their admissions offices. We welcome college reps on our campus each fall, well over 100 this fall alone. We advocate for our students by staying in contact with admissions offices throughout the process. And last, we include our school profile with each transcript we send out to colleges, and this is our profile. This allows the college to read students' transcripts in the context of what Shady Side offers and the students' choices that they have made within our very, very rich curriculum. In essence, the colleges get to know our school and what we as an academic community value. For example, our profile explicitly states that all our classes follow a rigorous college preparatory curriculum and that AP courses are limited by design. In order to keep you all, I almost said y'all, in order to keep you all current on what we are doing in college counseling and what resources are available to you as you start your own research, we have set up a class page just for juniors. On this page, there's a tremendous amount of information, up-to-date information, a click or two away. We will also post timely bulletins that you will find useful and reassuring as you begin and progress through your college process. The final piece of this communications puzzle, about which I am really excited to talk, is Naviance. It will be the repository of a great deal of information that will help you understand your college options and for your college counselor to send documents in support of your applications to colleges. For you, it is an excellent planning and research tool, and for us, it makes application submission almost seamless. You will be given your Naviance student account in mid-December, around the same time as you are assigned your college counselor. So a quick overview of Naviance, both from the counselors and your perspective, will show why it's such a powerful component in the college process. Through Naviance, you will keep us up to date regarding the colleges you are researching and potentially applying to. And you see that on this side. We get to see this as well. So it is a communication tool. It is in real time. You change the college, we see what the changes are, and we can comment. You will also be able to see how college application plans will allow us to work with you on formulating a strategy of when to apply where. From our side, peering through the College Counselors' Naviance portal, we're able to dig deep into data as it specifically relates to Shady Side's application history at all the schools to which our students have applied since 2010. And from your side, you can view how your GPA and test scores compare to those who have been accepted from our school and from the larger national, international community. Moreover, you will be able to view scattergrams. These scattergrams plot each previous Shady Side applicant's outcome at a particular college according to their GPA, which you see on the vertical axis, and standardized testing, which you see on the horizontal axis. Please note that Naviance produces scattergrams using the ACT, as you see here, and the SAT. This is a tremendous way of really seeing what your viability may look like at a certain college. Another tremendous feature that is relatively new to Naviance is the differentiation between application programs. In other words, whether the student applied early, rolling, or regular decision. This is such an awesome tool, and it's going to help you in determining whether a college is a likely, possible, or reach. These are terms you're going to become familiar with. However, this research tool is not predictive. It is just one piece of the building a college list puzzle. Other pieces, such as the applicant's talents and abilities and what we call institutional priorities, are not factored into these scattergrams. This is why we cannot call them entirely predictive, but they are a great tool, and you will find them so. So now, take a good deep breath, and I'm going to turn you back over to Lucas, who's going to talk about our college counseling seminar.
Okay, Mr. Frankel's not feeling well, so I'm going to step in here. Luckily, I've done this before many times. So we've talked about fit a little bit, and we see here how to assess a little bit of sort of realistic chances. So admissibility is definitely one kind of fit. We're going to talk about some others too. Before I do that though, I want to talk a little bit about this opportunity that we have that's coming up for second term. This will be the third year that we offer this, which is a 6-session seminar that will be held Tuesday mornings before school starts and Tuesday afternoons for students. So if you have friends who are seniors, many of them have done this. And what we do is we walk you through in detail some of the topics that everybody's going to go through one-on-one. This is a great opportunity for students or for families who are really feeling like they want to get a little bit earlier jump on the research and assessment process. These are the topics, so we basically walk you through what are you thinking about, how do you start to think about what you want, how do you start to do research and figure out what colleges offer, how do you understand yourself within that context, making the most of your college visits, creating a resume, communicating with colleges, essays and applications. So if you opt into the seminar, you opt into all 6 sessions. So this is not a drop-in, drop-out kind of thing. It is completely optional, and you do not need to attend this to be a successful college applicant. The past 2 years, we've had about 50 students. We did move it up from the first year to the second term based on the feedback we received from students. And overwhelmingly, when we surveyed students to say, if we offered more sessions, would you come to more? Overwhelmingly, yes, this was super helpful. We really enjoyed this. We got a lot out of it. So it's a big ask of you to come to school either before you need to be here or after school on these 6 Tuesdays. We'll send out the dates for that. We don't have them quite set right now, but especially if you take the bus to school and you're here anyway, and even for other people. We will do this with you one-on-one, but this is a great opportunity to get a jump start and go a little bit more into detail. And going back to the fit piece, so there's sort of the admissibility as one kind of fit. There's the figuring out what you want as another kind of fit, which is what that seminar is especially good for getting a jump on. There's also the financial end. Affordability is a huge part of most people's college process. No matter who you are, most families at Shadyside care a great deal about how much college is going to cost your family. And so this is a really important conversation to start talking about now. Even if you're not going to be applying for financial aid, it's really important to talk as a family about the role that finances are going to play in the college process. The financial aid application is something that you'll do in senior year, but if you want to get a sense of maybe what some of the colleges might ask you to pay, there's a tool called a net price calculator, and anybody can go onto these websites. You put in the information that is very similar to what they ask of you in the process, and it gives you a rough estimate for how much your family would be asked to pay. So a couple frequently asked questions related to financial aid, money, scholarships. These are some of the ones that we get a lot. Does the ability to pay or not pay for college have an impact on admissions decisions? And the answer, and as you start going to lots of information sessions for colleges, you'll see that the answer I'm about to give you is the answer that you will get for almost everything, which is, it depends. It depends on the school, what that means for you. So the terms here that are really important to understand from the get-go are need blind versus need anything else. Sometimes they say need aware, sometimes they say need sensitive, sometimes they say, they have all sorts of terms that mean your family's ability to pay may have some implication on your admission decision. So if a school reads applications need blind, your family's ability to pay has no bearing on whether or not you will be admitted. If the school says need anything else, at some point in that process, your family being able to pay or not pay the full amount could have some implication on how they make admission decisions. So the next logical thing to think is, well then, if I know I have financial need, shouldn't I just consider all schools that are need blind? Why would I consider schools that would take that into account if it has the potential to hurt me? The other part of this is how they fund their students. So there's need blind at the reading stage, but there's also schools that meet 100% of demonstrated need. There are schools that meet 80% of demonstrated need. There are schools that don't meet the full need that a family could possibly need. So I don't want to go too deep in the weeds here, but what I do want to say is, if you know your family will be applying for financial aid in this process, so that would probably be anybody at Shadyside who's receiving financial aid, plus many more of you, you should not rule out a school because they are not need blind, because that might mean that they've decided they don't have enough money to read need blind, but that everybody they're going to admit, they're going to fund to the highest level. Whereas there are other schools that may take it into account, but they don't fund the packages as well. So once we start to meet, we'll go through all of this with you. We'll also have many more opportunities for financial aid and scholarship specific sessions, but those terms are really important as you begin to look at schools. We talked a little bit about the net price calculator. Merit aid, so that's what you hear for all scholarship money that is not based on family need. So merit money could be for a talent, it could be for wonderful grades or any set of grades. Merit is going to be scholarships that are used to help attract you to that particular school. How do you figure all this out? Well, certainly we are a great resource for you as we go through this every year with many students. And the other thing that we really recommend is as you have specific questions for specific schools, that you reach out to the people in their financial aid offices. Many schools are great at actually sitting down with you one-on-one and helping you understand in a much more detailed way how a package comes together. We do this in the seminar, we do this one-on-one when families and students ask it of us. We will go through what goes into a financial aid package, the methodology, how it works a little bit, but for this program tonight, it's an important part of the process, it's important to know the terms, and we hope that you will continue to engage us and your families in this conversation. Okay, so a couple other FAQs. Did you see that? You're coming close to the end. You got that, right? We're flying through. You're loving it. All right, a couple other frequently asked questions. Lots of conversation about early, right? There's early action, there's early decision, there's restrictive early action, there's rolling, there's single choice early action, there's all these things that say early. So yes, the process has very much crept earlier. 90+% of our students will submit an application in the early round, which means that is either November 1st or November 15th. So right now, seniors are at kind of peak stress time till November 1st. So as your parents, if you're looking way ahead, like clear your weekends for October for next year. What we're doing right now with seniors is sitting down and writing out every week where you need to be by that next deadline. Early decision, here's how to remember this. Early decision, the decision is made. If you apply early decision and you get in early decision, you must go to that school. You sign a contract as a student, you sign a contract as a parent, we sign a contract as well. Sometimes people say, well, what happens if you get in and you don't want to go? It doesn't happen that much, because if you do sign this contract, technically the school can hold you accountable. But the one way that sometimes doesn't work out is with a financial aid package. If for some reason the package doesn't meet your family's need, they do let you out of that contract. The advantage to early decision, and we don't have to kind of go way in on this right now because nobody should be choosing their early decision school in October of their junior year. But early decision does give an admissions advantage. And we'll talk way more about that as we go through. But that's sort of the key here is sometimes people are hesitant to make that decision very early. It's not right for everyone. About 50 to 55% of our class applies in some sort of early decision. Early action allows you to apply in an early round, but you do not have to go there if you are admitted. You have until the spring to decide where you're going to go. Rolling admission, the earlier you apply, the better. This is Pitt, right? The application opens in August. The earlier, the better chances you have of being admitted. Regular decision, that's a deadline. That's usually January 1st. And the bulk of applications go out in regular decision. A couple other terms here, score choice, Common App, College Board, ACT. Gosh, it's a lot of terms. Let me see. I'm not going to go through and read these all. We've kind of covered most of the application rounds, and as you continue to learn more, you will continue to see these. There are many ways to apply to college. The common application, the coalition application, some schools have their own application. We talked a little bit about the FAFSA. That's the main financial aid form that every school requires. The College Board, people know the College Board because they run the SATs. Lots of media about the College Board. And we've talked about many of these things. Test optional is a really important term to know. So not every school requires standardized testing. So particularly if you are a student or if you have a student who does way better in the classroom than they do on standardized tests, there are many wonderful schools that never even ask for a standardized test. Sometimes people then say, well, are you at a disadvantage? No. They will show you the data to show that they had similar admit rates with test scores or without. So that's just an important thing to keep in mind. And score choice, we didn't use that term, but that is the ability to send your highest test scores to any school. All right, college visits. So this is a big thing on the minds of most junior families. How many? When? What if we can't do this? What does the visit entail? What are we looking to do? Is there a such thing as too many college visits? How do we think about this? So this is really specific to your family, but we would encourage everybody to visit minimum 2 schools by the time you get to the summer. As Mr. Frankel said, that could be something local. That could be anything. Your family's traveling to a family wedding. It's in Indianapolis. Go see Butler. Go see whatever schools are in the town where you're going. Does it matter if you go see the places you think you're gonna like the most or the places you don't think you're gonna like? No. So many families have these stories of planning these very elaborate trips, and then their student a year later applies to none of the schools that were on that trip. So parents are like, well, but that's like a lot of money and time. Isn't that a waste if you just go see schools that your kid doesn't end up applying to? This is what helps them start to figure it out. Students and parents, the most important thing you can do here is visit many different kinds of places, big and medium and small, and in a city and in a suburb, and rural schools and college town schools, like whatever opportunity you have. And this is, of course, this is what we do, and I think I will do this for all, even though my kids are young. Certainly, as you guys are out there, you're taking a drive to wherever, I'm always like, here we are, Teal College, we're going. You can do that too, right? I have planned anniversary trips, family vacations, all of those things around really great towns that also happen to have colleges in them. So I would say most families do some visiting. Some families do both parents, some families do one parent, sometimes students go on their own or with a friend. A lot of different ways to do this, but we do encourage college visits because schools feel different when you step foot on them. How many schools do most families see? Gosh, I don't know. Probably in the 5 to 7 range over the 2 years. If you plan a trip for spring break, or if you plan a trip when you have more days, I would say do not try to see more than 7 schools, 6 or 7 on any one trip. Has anybody done that in here? Well, if you have done it, or if you haven't done it, there's a really good reason why I'm telling you to really try not to see, many people do visit over spring break. 6 or 7 schools is really the max that you could see and take it in. In that seminar and one-on-one, we go through how to take notes, what to look for in the visit. Most campus visits include a tour led by a student and an information session. That's sort of your basic visit. It's about 3 hours, maybe 2 to 3 hours on any one campus. Depending on where you are, you could see 2 schools in a day. You probably would never want to see 3 schools in a day. And taking notes on those visits is really essential, because as you can imagine, it only takes till you get to the second school till you can't remember which school told you which thing. So there are other things that you can do on these campuses, like for example, Columbus Day. It's Monday. Students don't have school. Many colleges run a big Columbus Day open house. I would say don't go crazy with this, but do be mindful and try to get in some visits. You can attend a class. Some colleges will interview, though not usually in the junior year. I did see this on, as I went through some of the cards, right? This is the question, well, okay, how do admission decisions really get made? We hear all sorts of things. Is it true that your transcript is the most important part? Is it true that your test scores? Is it true that the essays, the teacher recs, my demonstrated interest? Demonstrated interest is your ability to show these schools that you're paying attention to them. This is something that they track, and they track pretty carefully. So when you go to a campus for a visit, you sign in the admissions office. As you start to get mail from colleges, you go through that college inbox once a week and click on those emails. As the schools are coming here, making these connections is something that's important for you to get to know the schools, and it's also something that they're tracking. Every school you go to will tell you that they use a process that is holistic. Whether that is Penn State, that basically tells you we are holistic in that we look at your courses, your grades, and your test scores, and it is based primarily, I've had a Penn State representative tell me, 2/3 on your GPA, 1/3 on your test score. That's their version of holistic, down to we read every word of every essay, every teacher rec. There's a wide range in what is holistic. For most selective colleges, and most of our students apply to selective colleges, grades are the single most important part. And then all the other pieces matter too. But if you're in the ballpark with grades and test scores, as most of the students who apply to the schools are, they're going to spend the time a little bit more on the other factors of yourself. Extracurriculars, all these things that are on this slide play into those decisions. Okay, so we understand what goes into it, and now, well, what do I need to do to stand out, right? Well, what do we need to be doing to make sure that my son or daughter, as a student, what do you need to do to make yourself the best possible college applicant? And then many people logically say, well, if it's so competitive, and they look at all these things, then should I do all these extra things? And most students do not do all these extra things because students, you have a lot of work to do as students right now, right? Your top priority, the single most important thing you can do to be a strong college applicant is to be a great student and citizen in school. This is a message you've been hearing since freshman year, but it's never more true than right now. So keep doing what you're doing, be engaged, stay engaged, make sure you're doing school in the very best way you know how. And that's not just getting good grades, but really engaging, really developing relationships with your teachers, thinking about how you might take your involvements to the next level, thinking critically and taking time to reflect. Really, really important. We have this board in our office where every college rep that comes in, we've asked them to write a piece of advice for college applicants. And one of the reps wrote, write every day. Get a journal and write every day. The reflection piece is critically important in this process. They're not going to ask you for, you're not using that journal for anything other than you, but asking questions, thinking critically, talking with your family, and reflecting back, those are really important steps. Communicate, read your email. This is what you should be doing right now. Do you need an independent college counselor to help you do that? Probably not. Most people do not need that. Most Shady Side families do not. That said, there are families who choose to engage extra help either at some point in the process. We're not going to hold that against you. It's not a taboo. We'll want to know that information because we want to be able to work best with your family. Do you need a tutor for test prep? Some of you have already done some test prep. Some of you have not. We recommend the first time that you're taking these tests be this winter. Some of you have already done it. Many students choose to engage in test prep. Not everyone does. What we will say is you shouldn't walk into the test cold. You should know what's on the test. You should be prepared. And how you get prepared is really up to you and what really makes sense for yourself or for your family. There are time implications. There are cost implications. There's no one right way to do this. We talked a little bit about demonstrating interest. I can talk more about that if it's something you're curious about, but that's just the idea that you're showing interest to the colleges as well. And this is what you should be doing. It sounds kind of simple, but this is really it, is really engaging in school and your activities to the best that you possibly can. And being a nice person and being a good citizen also helps. And those things do get noticed, and it comes out in your teacher recs, and it comes out in your essays, but really thinking about your role in this community is a piece of what it means to do school well. Okay, so at this point, we're gonna kind of wrap things up. Next steps for you. So we talked a little bit about the visits, thinking about college visit plans in these long weekends, winter break, spring break, summer, as you start to lay the plans for the future. Even if it is a drive, even if it is something local, if your primary purpose in college is to get out of Pittsburgh, there's still value in visiting local schools, but as you have bigger trips, that's something you want to think about. The financing piece and sort of the value of college and what that is for your family is a critical piece to talk about. Students, the visitors that are here at school every day, we have not seen very many juniors at these sessions. I understand it can be a little intimidating to walk through that door. If you want, we'll meet you at the door and walk with you. If you have a free period and there's a college there, which is highly likely because there's about 5 colleges that come every day and everybody has free periods, you can come into those sessions, again, even if it's a school that you don't really know about. You can see this list in the daily bulletin, you can see it on the class page. And registering for upcoming tests, SAT, ACT, sometime in the upcoming months. And if you have questions about that, you can certainly come in and chat with us. So I'm just gonna grab these cards, 1 second. Okay, so I wanted to read some of the cards as we close. I want to read some of the cards from students and from parents of what you have written here, because I think it's very poignant and I think it would be worth sharing, and hopefully will offer up some good conversation. So I'll start with the parents. I'll read some of these. I'm not going to read too many of them. You do not need to attend an Ivy League school to be successful. Don't worry, you'll get into a great college that is right for you. Try to somehow enjoy the college process. It can be fun and interesting. I've often wished I could do it again. The importance of organization and deadlines in the college application process, important. To the student, this is just one of the many steps in your future. Focus, but don't stress out. That wherever she feels most comfortable and is the best fit is so much more important than the college name and the college ranking. You'll end up in the place you're supposed to be. It just may take a while. You'll get into a college that's a great fit for you. There's more than one good choice or one good fit for everyone. Pick your school based on academics, not sports. I ain't made of money. This will all work out and you'll get into college. We'll be proud of you no matter where you go. I want you to be happy. We love you. So that's from parents, right? Students, I hope you heard those because the themes are similar. To the parents from students, I'd like my parent to know that I will try my hardest to get into the best college I can and not be a waste of money. I have absolutely no clue what I'm doing or what I want to do. Having a sibling who went through the college process is not helpful. I'm still lost, right? And that's really important to remember for those parents in here who have been through this process with another child. I'm doing my best, please know that. I understand the ramifications of my grades, and reminding me of that just adds stress. I want my parents to know to stop freaking out about college. SSA's college counselors have got it handled. I would like their help in scheduling visits. And I think this is a great conversation to have now too, as parents, to say to your sons and daughters, what can I do to be helpful? Like, I want to help, and I want to help you in the ways you want to be helped. What might this look like for the next couple of months? I'm not going to your school, I assume that is parent alma mater, just because that may be what you want. This is a really great one. I wish I could show you the card. It says, the line says, I care more than I let on. And under the line it says, way. I care way more than I let on. It might get overwhelming to apply to too many colleges. And that is some of the student advice. So I hope this provides some good food for thought, some things to think about. If you are on social media, I highly encourage you to follow the College Counselor, the SSA College Counseling on Facebook and on Instagram. Instagram's a little more tailored towards students. Facebook's a little bit more tailored towards parents. One of the articles that I posted this week is this really awesome research paper that came out this week about it's put out by an organization called Challenge Success, and it's about what makes students successful in college and in life, and how it is really not correlated to US News and World Report college rankings. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, it was interesting to me, it's posted there. That also feeds to the College Counseling website. So at this point, oh my gosh, 8 o'clock on the dot, I'll maybe open it for a couple of questions. Yes?
In registering for the SATs and the ACTs, is there anything that we need to know that is tied with Shady Side and our child with they've already done the PSATs last year, like the registration and all of that?
Yeah, so there's like a ton of personal and biographical info when you register for ACT and SAT, and very little of it is required. They use it because they sell the data to colleges, and they'll use that data in whatever way that they can. So that's one thing, is don't fill out unless you want to or like to do that kind of thing, don't fill out the fields that aren't required.
Have you established like an account for them, or are we starting from scratch?
You're starting from scratch probably for College Board and ACT. Some people ask, should you take it with the writing section? So both SAT and ACT have an optional writing section. While colleges do seem to be dropping the writing section over time, we would say take it with the writing section, because if you end up with a school on your list that requires the writing section, it's good to have it. But from the account perspective, you're starting from scratch. But once you start from scratch one time, you don't need to start from scratch again. What else? Yes?
If we see a college visitor or representative on campus, what should we talk to them about?
Great question. So there's a really good tip sheet that's on the class page. You want to come in and you want to be prepared with some knowledge of the school and ready to ask a couple of questions that are not found in 5 minutes in a Google search. So you should know where it is. You should know approximately how big it is. You should know a tiny little bit about the school. Then you can say questions to prepare. Tell me about this part of the school, or tell me how you're different from other liberal arts colleges, or tell me what makes your school unique. Tell me why you like working there. Tell me, I'm here to just learn about the school. If they say to you kind of what brings you here, you'll say, I'm just beginning my college process and I'm interested in learning more. That's it. You don't have to be an expert. You have to come with a couple of questions, but you could develop 3 questions and use them for every school and just have them be pretty open-ended. Some of the rep sessions are very small, like 1 or 2 students. Some of them might have like 12 or 15. That would be on the upper end of what we have. Great question. Yes?
Is the Navient software with those categories?
Yeah.
Do you have that expandable for including like Fox Chapel High School, Hampton, Swickley, sort of do a Western PA analysis versus just the Shady Side?
No, we have Shady Side and we have national data, but we don't have something that compares our data to the other schools in the region.
Might that be possible to get?
I mean, unless you have a kid at all the different schools, I don't know how you would get that. What would you want to do with the information?
I think this might be insightful for, if you're applying to schools maybe further west, how many do they take from Western PA kind of thing versus how many do they take from the Shady Side?
I don't know how you would get that. And I would say, one of the questions that we get a lot is, like, my GPA would be higher if I went to fill in the blank high school. How will they account for that? Or we heard that 4 students from such school with weak, I don't know about the other schools. We're experts on this school, and our data compares very favorably against national data. I don't know how it compares against other independent schools.
Colleges put out information as to student body from, so you can see whether they're drawing from Pennsylvania. Often they'll break up the state and be more specific, but it's not going to be school by school.
Anything else? Yeah.
Are the Tuesday sessions, are those before or after, or are they before and after?
A student would have to, would be choosing whether they wanted to come in the morning or after school. They're not doing both. That would be really long. From 8 o'clock, at 8 o'clock and at 3 o'clock. I mean, we have candy, but it's not that good. That would be really long. Yes?
What seems to be the norm for normal time period that students are taking the SAT once, twice, Shady Side students?
Yeah, most Shady Side students take the test 2 or 3 times. I would say that the standard timeline is that people take their first tests, an SAT and ACT, somewhere between November and March. Based on that, they figure out, okay, which one felt better, which one did I do better on? There are concordance tables online, and certainly we can help you figure out which is the better score, if there is one. About a third of people do better on the SAT, about a third of people do better on the ACT, and about a third of people do equally as well on both. That's why we recommend you take both. Then we recommend you stick with a test, and then take that test again. And so then most people do their second test in that May or June test dates, and then sometimes people will then do a third test August, September, October, even November. Sometimes the June test becomes tough. It's right around finals, so not everybody gets the second test in before the summer, but 2 or 3 times is what most Shady Side students are doing. And most students do some sort of test in the fall of the senior year. Well, great. Thank you so much again for being here. Follow us, keep track of us. We'll see you again we'll see you again probably one-on-one. And keep your eyes open for other financial aid info sessions, some programming with college admissions deans that'll come up this winter, and feel free to reach out as you have questions, and especially students, come on in if you're thinking about something or worried about something. We have office hours every day after school, 3 to 3:45. One of us is available to meet with you or to answer questions. You're welcome to come at any time to do that. Thanks.